every day I'm confronted with the information that people are dying.
Yeah.
And it's like, as much as I don't want to hear about it, I do recognize that there are people out there who can't just wake up and not deal with it anymore.
Right. What's up? We are back. You probably don't want to do gunshots and bombs for the foreseeable future, brother. We probably want to just let's go with the claps, the hand claps. We are back. This is This Week in White Supremacy. It's funny when people like discover the show, and then are like really, really mad at the name.
Always great.
As if like
always great.
As if like white supremacy isn't a thing. Like, the name's racist. Nah, naming white supremacy's existence.
It's giving. It's all what science does. It just gives names to things that exist.
Yes, it's not.
That's what it is.
Yes, we talk about white supremacy that more than white people do. But anyway, it's just funny. People are noticing the show, commenting on the show. So I always laugh when people mess with the name. I'm Jasiri X. I'm co-founder and CEO of One Hood Media. And to my immediate right, braid it up.
It's a miracle.
It wasn't working. Sorry. Let me run it back for you. Hold on, because I gotta be respectful of my sister's entrance.
Yes.
It's a miracle.
Flexing the nails. You know what I'm saying? Wow.
Okay.
The machine is boycotting.
Yeah, man.
It's your favorite solidarity system.
Everybody hates Miracle.
Big blessing with the big blessing. What's up? It's your girl, Miracle.
Solidarity sister. Oh,
I like that.
look at Miracle. Yeah, I like that too.
Finally had an intro and you ruined it, but it's okay.
Yes.
It wasn't me. It was the roadcaster was boycotting you.
It's always what a man says. Always an excuse.
It wasn't me.
Always an excuse.
Damn.
You went out like my man. It wasn't me.
Shaggy.
Miracle brought all the Jada energy today.
You know what?
I hate you. Yo.
Shout out to Jasmine Black.
Oh my days.
Hey, yo.
Jesus
Shout out to
Christ.
Jasmine.
Are you selling those?
Listen.
You should sell those. I don't know if they would allow you
Okay.
to sell those.
Wow. Not okay.
Wow. That
Look
is
at Miracle
amazing.
being the proud colorist that she is.
Man, that's funny.
Man, you about to get fired from your own show.
Listen. We'll bring the laughs today.
Oh my days.
Lord have
Jesus
mercy.
Christ on a
Wow.
bike.
Wow. Yeah, Jadakiss got to chill though. I mean, just
Jadakiss?
come on.
Jadakiss?
Oh, Jadakiss. not Jadakiss.
I mean, that's the energy she's bringing.
She is bringing Jadakiss
She's bringing
energy.
Jadakiss energy.
We're not gonna make it, Jada. If you keep talking. Lord have
Listen.
mercy.
You guys speak your truth. You guys speak your
You
truth.
know that video where I forget where it's from, where they beat the dude up and they was like, "What did that nigga do?"
Yeah, that's from the Boondocks.
That's
from the Boondocks. Yeah.
Every time Jada speaks, that's what I wonder. What did Will do to make her this mad?
Man,
Like,
nigga just
wow.
woke up and breathed. That's it. I hate the way this nigga inhale.
Anyway,
This nigga woke up alive again. Back on Twitter fingers.
When you don't act right,
obviously
comes
something.
back.
Man.
That's karma in the mud.
Man.
Trouble.
It's
Bring
your
us back
boy,
to some peace,
Trouble
brother.
NLS, never like supremacy. Miracle on her next level solidarity.
Yes.
We got next level Saeed in the building.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And we got the I don't know, what is it? The new light skin chart.
Yes.
It's my all colors are beautiful chart.
Is that what it is?
Is that what it is? Oh, okay.
We're not okay.
They're beautiful, but not okay.
I'm saying, Jazz, aren't you on that chart?
Yes.
Like you're right above
Absolutely.
the not okay line.
Yes.
Listen.
Yes.
Jeez, man. Jeez.
Sir?
The Supreme,
Yes.
Asiatic, intelligently divine, Hacksaw Him Duggan,
Yes.
Him Jong-il,
Yes.
Him Jong-un.
Yes. All the hymns.
Yeah,
all the
man.
hymns.
I'm him, man.
Well, yes.
I thought Him Jong-il was crazy.
It is. It is crazy. Absolutely. Yes. It's too much. It's too much.
It's never too much. No, Luther Vandross said it, never too much.
So we definitely, again, if you're watching for the first or maybe second time,
welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome
We
to the show.
normally joke and laugh. Obviously, in this environment, is difficult to do. I know, like you shared Miracle. Was it Pete Davidson's kind of commentary, which I thought was really interesting.
Yes.
Ski.
Because of come on, bro. That's that's the rapper that won't be named. We're not acknowledging him anymore.
Oh man.
But because of his own history.
Right.
We're talking about like laughter, the need for laughter right now. But I mean, I think we do have to start to show off, at least by acknowledging and talking about, I mean, where we are, because we are in the midst of, we're watching war happen, and we're watching particularly, a very vulnerable population, be, really violence being brought upon this population at a level that we haven't seen. Right, the New York Times put a chart out where it was talking about like deaths since the war began, and it's wild when you see. And we mentioned a chart, the first chart that they put out last week. Yeah, they put a new chart out.
Oh wow, okay. I thought it was Miracle's color chart, but continue.
No, this is the New York Times chart, which was saying like October 7th was the deadliest day for Israel in its 75-year history. But more Palestinians have been killed so far in 2023 than in 2014, when more than 2,000 were killed in a 50-day war. You know what I'm saying? So like we've seen just in this very short period of time more, I think it's almost 3,000 Palestinians have died. We're seeing, I think they said it was more children, Palestinian children that were killed so far than like in the Russia-Ukraine war.
Yeah, Gaza 53% women and children.
And being as small as it is.
Right.
It's such a small area, and being the fact that folks were already confined in there, right? You have all of these factors determining that. And so, many people, including, those of us at the table, were calling for a ceasefire, right? Calling for peace, really feeling like that, violence is just only going to get more violence. So I think the question was like, there were like responses to it, right? And one response came from 13 House Democrats, including our Congresswoman Summer Lee, a call for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. We should be allowing, but the Israeli government came out and said no fuel, no water, no food,
no electricity,
no
internet.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, you all have to leave. And so it's like, if there's no humanitarian aid or effort to help people leave or help people get into a place of safety, we're watching like a population that was already so vulnerable, have even more violence heaped on top of it. And for those individuals that, just live there. I mean, there was a whole piece around, there's a lot of people there that have American passports that they tried to get out, couldn't get out. So it's all of these things swirling around it. So to me, I think like the least we can do is say, can we stop the violence, stop the bomb and stop the violence, and at least allow folks that want to leave a pathway to leave, at least allow hospitals to operate, at least allow food and water to be given to a population that was already so vulnerable. And so that's the only thing I really saw, I know that there was, conversation around, I think President Biden spoke and at least acknowledged like the population.
Yeah.
At least acknowledged like the humanitarian aid needed for Palestinian people.
If only he was
in Gaza
president of the most powerful nation of the world.
Well, he's going over there. I don't know what that necessarily means.
I mean,
what his presence will do per se. So I guess like we're a week removed, and
may I?
It doesn't seem that like the violence is going to end.
I mean, it hasn't for how long?
True, but I'm saying like at this level, right?
Right. Yet and still, it's been almost a consistent level of violence.
True.
Over how many decades?
Right.
Many
decades.
Yeah.
100%.
What I want to say is, and I'm gonna speak for me, right?
Yeah.
This is our show. This is I'm talking to the audience, right? We appreciate you tuning in, and you could be watching anywhere. But this our shit. We dictate the conversation topics in here. But also, as Jasiri highlighted on last week's episode, we say this all through the lens of F-O-U-R, Black Americans, diasporic Black people.
Yes.
And the views that we have are going to highlight the stances that we have in the communities that we live in first.
True.
Right? This is not to say we don't empathize, specifically me with my very specific cultural and ethnic identity, as Miracle so brilliantly indicated on the color chart at the beginning of the show. Right?
No, because there are people with your identity who are also down here.
That's very true. That's very true. But don't make it seem like I'm less than just because I'm higher up on your color chart.
You're not less than.
She's not less than.
I never said you were less than.
All right, I'm just letting you know.
Not okay.
I'm just not okay. That actually means not less than. But anyway, we are going to talk about the things that affect us deeply first, because that's where, for me at least, I'm affected the most, is how it impacts me as an individual and in my community, and what I can directly alter, help, and influence.
Yes.
Right. So that's the thing. We're gonna be steeped in Blackness from the jump.
Yes.
And the show is called This Week in White Supremacy, and that also means people of the global majority can uphold the tenets of white supremacy.
1000%.
So they will also get talked about. But you cannot dictate to Black people about what we can and cannot talk to as it pertains to issues of white supremacy and how it affects other Black people. That's all.
Yeah, and I think at least you shouldn't, right? Because that, to me,
I mean, you can, but you shouldn't. Yeah.
That, because then that's also kind of functions as white supremacy in the sense of wanting to say, hey, you as a Black person should feel. And I think, I think part of this. Yeah, I'll go around, but it's a lot around what we don't want to turn this into is this isn't sports,
right?
Miracle
said that last week, and that was a great analogy. Yeah.
Yes, people are dying, and acknowledging that before I come to you, Miracle, that we're seeing a rise in anti-Semitism, right? Summer Lee, our congresswoman, had tweeted out that there were incidents in Squirrel Hill of, people putting swastikas on different things. And we're seeing also a rise in Islamophobia, right? Most notably, where we saw in Chicago or in Illinois, a 6-year-old Muslim child that was stabbed to death. Yeah. By somebody that basically was saying all Muslims must die, right? And so again, this is kind of what violence begets, more violence, right? And this is where then people start to not only become more afraid, but become more closed off, right? Yeah. Whenever something like that happens, it's you kind of got to go inside of your bubble to protect yourself, in a sense. And what does that look like? And I think as Black Americans, one thing we know about is violence.
Absolutely.
And whether it be our historical experience or whether it be what we push back on in our community every day. One Hood, the name One Hood came out of us pushing back against violence in our community to say we all need to be together. We shouldn't be fighting hood to hood. And we've seen one incidence of violence kind of get more and more and more. And then you get to a point where folks can't even have a conversation because so many lives have been lost on either side. Right. And so those are just pieces of where we are right now. I'm passing it to my solidarity sister, Miracle.
I think first off, the genocide of the Palestinian people is something that we cannot support. We're talking about the murder of children and the elderly, and somebody tweeted out, I couldn't find it. They said they're robbing our future and killing our past at the same time. This is what genocide does. And when we move from a place of violence and vengeance and revenge, this is what we are tactically supporting. And I think that when we move into our silos and we don't practice solidarity, we then say, you know what, be as vengeful as you can. And that's the space that we're moving in. And it's not just what happened in Illinois, here in Pittsburgh, people were coming after hijabis in Mellon Park. In Harrisburg, a man pulled out a gun on pro-Palestinian protesters. Absolutely. And all across the country. And that is the issue right now, is we have media who are trying to sow seeds of division and lying on people and saying they support ideologies or they support organizations that they do not, which then creates fear. And then when fear happens, people move and segregate themselves because they need to make sure they're protected, and that segregation causes fear and misunderstanding. Y'all know I mispronounce words all the time, but there was a famous person on Twitter who said Bismillah is an anti-Semitic slur.
What?
And everybody was like, wait, what?
In the name of God is so a language is okay.
Right? And that's because he didn't know, right? And so a lot of this violence that we're seeing is based and steeped on ignorance because, and I understand fully, not all Palestinians are Muslim. There are Palestinians who are Catholic. There are Palestinians who are atheists. There are Palestinians who practice various levels of Catholicism. There are even some Palestinians who also practice the Jewish faith. 100% understand that. But since September 11th, there has been an intentional misunderstanding and misrepresentation of the Islam faith, particularly in Western media. So when you have a elected congressperson who can go on the Capitol floor wearing an IDF uniform and saying, I'm fighting against the global day of jihad, everybody can sit there and rally behind that because of what they think is happening. And what we really have to fight against is not only our own ignorance, we have to go through an unlearning process, but we're also now having to fight against media who's trying to make us feel like our neighbors are trying to attack us. And that is one of the reasons why the Palestinian people are so vulnerable. It's not just because they have this force occupying them. They have media, the largest media outlets in the world, dehumanizing them on the daily and having to stay on social media to figure out if your friends are alive or dead, if your family members are alive. It's just, I think it's too much. And our elected officials really have to not only fight for this ceasefire and this humanitarian aid, but a process of healing so we're not replicating this next year, 2 years, or 3 years from now, or when these kids grow up and they want to get vengeance on what happened to their cousins, their aunties, and their uncles, because this is really too much right now.
Yeah, and I just to say, I don't think that's new. As far as the media's role in, I mean, that's part of the reason why we came about, right, as One Hood Media, is to tell our own stories. And a lot of times, because of the stories, a lot of the stories dehumanize or only show black people in a particular light. And therefore, when black people die or are killed, and the violence that black people die or killed in, it's not seen as something that it's not seen as like something that needs immediate action, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it took, I think recently, right, the White House said they're going to have an Office of Gun Violence, but, we've been experiencing this, damn near our whole lives, right?
Absolutely.
In a lot of ways, we're like a slave to our algorithms.
Ooh, that was, jeez.
Yeah, when it comes to where we are. And so, I saw a lot of people basically saying, supporting, you can support Palestinian people and you can condemn Hamas, right? You know what I'm saying? Again, condemning Hamas and condemning terrorist attacks shouldn't be something that is difficult, nor should it be difficult to condemn the actions of the Israeli government when it comes to, particularly when so many children and so many people are vulnerable, and bombing Gaza in the way, not even allowing people to get out or allow water or aid to come into for a population, people that didn't have anything to do with, what happened on October 7th. So to me, that should be easy to do, but you can support, you can say hey, and I think a lot of people have we don't want, and not, when I say a lot of people, you just had yesterday a group of Jewish people, I think it was If Not Now is the name of the group, rally at the White House and block all the entrances of the White House and saying we're Jewish people. We understand the pain and suffering, hurt and historical trauma that Jewish people have. However, we don't want this violence to be done in our name, right? We don't want this bombing, and we don't want, any more Palestinians murdered in our name. And so it is. So I've seen people make that statement. I've seen solidarity, but again, I'm not I don't get my news from traditional news sources primarily because of how traditional news sources, and you laid it out, talk about black people, talk about Muslims, which I identify as. And so I kind of know that traditional news media is not going to give me, a just due. And so oftentimes, like you said, marginalized people are made to be, and we talked about that last week, right? Even the terminology we use where it's like killed or dead, it's all this different terminology. Did you have any thing that you want to talk about, Trouble?
Yeah, I just wanted to say for the viewer watching this, try to stay away from media that is telling you that you should feel a certain way, because at the end of the day, you are your own person. And I would implore, that's the right word.
Yes.
That you get the facts, gather the facts on the history of what's going on over in Israel and Palestine, and come to your own conclusion.
Yeah.
Don't let these media outlets dictate how you feel about the situation, because as you hear from what we've said around this table, there is a lot of mis and disinformation going on to get you to sway one way or the other.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So, because I've been seeing a lot of that, like, you should be outraged, you should feel this, you should feel that. And I've been unfollowing media platforms for saying things like that. And I also want to say that over the past week, I've kind of realized that I have privilege in this moment.
1,000%.
Where it's like, I get tired of seeing this on social media, if I'm being completely honest, because it's like every day I'm confronted with the information that people are dying.
Yeah.
And it's like, as much as I don't want to hear about it, I do recognize that there are people out there who can't just wake up and not deal with it anymore.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Every day they're wondering, am I next? Is this going to happen to me and my family? Some people would already happen to their family.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I have the privilege of being able to be like, you know what, I'm going to take a break from social media, but I still have so much empathy in my heart for the people who can't just close their phones on this situation.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
And I would say, man, you bring up such a great point, because that is that privilege, right? Of like, almost like, oh, I want things to get back to normal, but what's normal, for and it, for people experience violence all over the world, right? Because then you also have folks that may have, experienced something in the past where it's like it's triggering, right? It brings up, all of these feelings for what folks are going through. You have other folks experiencing violence right now that might feel like, why doesn't my issue get the same amount of attention? So you have all of these things swirling around. And so I think it is that piece. But then again, if you're somebody who, because of what you experienced, maybe want to unplug for your own mental health, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're absolutely right. There are some people, if you're in Gaza right now, you can't even get on the internet. I mean, so there's so much you can't do. And so I think we're holding space for the most vulnerable in this moment. And I think that's nothing wrong with saying like, hey, like, let's make sure, like, can we from this moment say no one else has to die, right? No more, particularly like no more babies have to die beyond this. And I think like to Miracle's point last week, it's like, what work do we have to do to create this world where we don't feel like violence is an answer or necessary in these circumstances? And to me, that's our work, right? Because we talk about building a liberated community. It's a community that you feel loved and accepted and appreciated in, where you have access to all the things you need to live your life, right? This is kind of the work that we're striving to do. So there were a lot of responses to it, Tis. And one of the, we talk about this week in white supremacy, to me, and he normally has the wildest response to things.
We had a funnier show planned.
We definitely did.
But here we are.
Yes.
But hopefully we can get into the jokes now.
Yes.
Well, right. First, I think Donald Trump spoke on this. And it's fascinating to me. This is how like white supremacy works to me, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because you had a situation where I mean, because he basically not only like dissed Netanyahu, right, from a position of, he's in a position where a lot of his followers believe he's still president.
Right.
Like a majority of his followers believe like he's still in charge. We know he's not. He know he's not. But they believe he's still in charge. So like he took time between talking, I guess, to all of his lawyers of all these cases going down. And then he like bigged up Hezbollah, which is, again, super fascinating to me because... And
I had a take on this.
And to say, okay, so I'm gonna come to you because, of course, people came and, said, he shouldn't have done that and blah, blah, blah. But it's like the pushback against him is never the same. I mean, you had people like going at the squad and trying to paint them in these ways, and they're saying like, yo, we condemn Hamas, they're a terrorist organization. Like they're saying all of these things, but just simply saying like, hey, maybe we want to stop the violence. Like they were painted in like these they're pro support of terrorists, but then Trump actually uses language in support
of Hezbollah
and doesn't get that same pushback to that level. To me, that's just an example of how white supremacy works in this country. Your take, Farouk.
So here's where I go with this. Trump is brilliant, right? And because he's going after the actual...
you might want to grab your color chart real quick.
Get ready. No. Trump is actually going after the real MAGA Muslim crowd.
You think he is?
Yes. There are Muslims, there are Arab identifying people in the country that are right wing. And a lot of these people, specifically to celebrate and support Hezbollah, are Lebanese. My mom's side of the family who identify when they come to the States as white people. They do not want to be considered Arab, but they want whiteness. Wow. So when they can actually have a Catholic religion, they can have an Arabic or French culture and be support of a government that is, on paper at least, for the Lebanese people, like Hezbollah and Nasrallah claim to be. Him targeting that specific group is no different than him going after the Cubans for Trump, going after these immigrants and these migrants that have come in and say, I came here, nobody else can come, right? Fuck all the people from the motherland. We rocking with Trump because he's seeing us as people. And in my opinion, it's a great strategy. He's trying, like, do I support it? No, but it's no different than him trying to like get props from posing with Waka Flocka or posing, getting credentials from Kanye and ASAP and Lil Wayne and all these other people. He's just looking to see where can I go for the quote unquote marginalized group, rally support from that people, and then use that for 2024.
Well, it does play into, a lot of his followers identify as white supremacists.
Yep.
And
there's a lot of white supremacy in Islam. There's a lot of white supremacy in Arab communities. There's a lot of anti-blackness in both of those things.
And, there's also a lot of anti-Semitism.
Let me rephrase that.
Those white supremacists.
Islam is not anti-black or white supremacists. Those who practice are.
Yeah, I think, you said in those Arab communities.
Yeah.
And so maybe he's playing into his white supremacist base that also is... anti-Semitic as well.
Absolutely. Because the two aren't necessarily distant relatives.
True. Miracle?
I think we got to flesh that out a little bit more just for the clips. I think we're not saying that the majority of people who practice Islam are
absolutely.
That's why I said. That's why.
I'm just saying so we don't get even more smoke.
I mean, I'm Muslim. I said what I said.
So we don't give you more smoke. We're not even saying all or the majority. We're just saying some asterisk because I don't like smoke. I like when people are kind to me. I think Trump plays up the race card in a way that we forget is used for marketing purposes.
Right.
It is used for people to say, like, I can say whatever I want because when I have power, this is what you can do and you should be like me. Because when you have power, you get to do whatever you want to do and say whatever you want to say. And that has been Trump's brand. And that's why he says oftentimes the most ridiculous things, because the same time he was saying that, you know, Hezbollah or Hamas was smart, he was also saying Barack Hussein Obama like 17 times.
Correct.
And with the emphasis on the Hussein part.
Yes.
And so that's what Trump is doing. He's trying to get his coalition together, like Farouk was saying, so he can win in 2024. He's also trying to say things to stay in the media, and because that is how he does his marketing and promo, because all his money has gone to his lawyers. So he's got to find a way to stay relevant. But it's interesting that Trump is talking about how the military worked. And especially I don't know if we're going to play the clip when he's just talking about these are not the brightest people. Like they're just here to basically do harm, spend this money on these weapons that do harm and come back home. And so that is also an analysis that I think we're missing, is a lot of people who are making decisions that impact people's lives are not taking into account the harm that they are doing and the consequences of their harm, because they're so laser focused on committing violence, on upholding genocide, on pushing anti-blackness, on punishing people of the global South, that they don't even see us as human. And so when you can make these type of statements to us, we see that as ignorant speech, but for other folks, they just think it's funny because they don't even see people who practice any of these face or any brown people as human, and that's the real issue.
Here's a question for you: do flat earthers believe in the global South?
I think flat earthers deny the global terminology, but I don't think like in that clip.
First of all, the global South is more of a political.
Yeah.
No, I know what you're saying.
But I don't. They don't use the word globe because globe. But
insinuates it's round.
Just to follow up what you said, Trump. I mean,
oh fuck.
He caught you. He said the quiet part out loud.
I meant we were talking about Donald Trump. Woo! I caught her.
You know what?
That was crazy.
After last week, y'all were like, Miracle, how do you deal with this?
Miracle, I'm sorry.
That's the clip right there.
You talked about.
I mean, she is Tim Scott's attorney, so you know.
Or girlfriend.
I mean, can they both be the same?
What I was going to say is, when you mention
Miracle Scott,
when you mention what Trump said, that's what I was trying to say. Mm-hmm. He's not looking that deep into that. And basically Trump, and we didn't have that. We do have the Barack Hussein Obama clip. We don't have the clip where Trump basically is calling the military dumb and these military people dumb. Trump is, in his world, to his followers, like, I'm the smartest. I'm the one that knows best. I have the plan. Even I think when he talks about, when he said negative things about Benjamin Netanyahu, obviously Benjamin Netanyahu must have said or done something to him in the past, but he's saying, I have the answers. Nope, Netanyahu don't have the answers. Biden don't have the answers. No one has the answers but me. I'm going to be your savior. And these military guys, they're dumb. But my point is, if any other politician came out and said these military leaders are dumb, they would be treated as anti-military, anti-American. I haven't really heard Trump being referred to as, anti-Semitic, not in the manner they should be, or anti-Israel, right? Or pro-terrorism. Like, people don't use these. It's just that it's a different set of rules that are applied to him as this white man, and because of how, he's cultivated this audience that he can say anything. This man can say anything, and it doesn't matter to them. They'll try to explain it away. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you literally, like, people explained away January 6th, right? That he led. They try to explain it away as something. And so to me, that's the difference. You do have a point, and Trump has been using, his new mode of attack is to try to bring back Barack Obama. Do you have that clip? I see you working over there.
I see you struggling.
Yeah, you see it. Yeah. So there was Trump's new form of attack has been really to rehash 2008, 2012. and basically say that Barack Obama is Biden's boss. That Biden isn't making the decisions. It's this black man, not only this black man, but this black man that has the name Hussein. And again, playing into, like, he knows his audience is white supremacists. He knows his audience don't like black people. They don't like brown people. And he's playing into that ideology, which I think is also super fascinating.
Instead of keeping terrorists and terrorist sympathizers out of America, the Biden administration is inviting them in. You know why? Because he's got a boss. Who's his boss? Barack Hussein Obama. Barack Hussein. Barack Hussein Obama. Remember the great Rush Limbaugh? Barack Hussein Obama. Here you go, Barack Hussein Obama. Hello, Lee. Unbelievably, the corrupt Biden Department of Justice recently invited an Iranian-backed judge from Iraq to visit our nation's capital. Isn't that nice? He couldn't have been too impressed with our capital. It looks like shit.
Oh, whoa!
No, have you seen what they've done? Instead of keeping...
This is y'all king, right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
damn.
That's crazy.
And
that almost sounded like some AI shit.
Yeah,
it
right.
Like
no,
shit.
it's not. It's not. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, again, if anybody else spoke like this, they'd be labeled un-American.
Yeah,
but Trump can do it because he has a million flags around him. But Reverend Cornell Williams Brooks, who was the president of the NAACP, basically said in this clip, put this clip out, he said the sound of violence chanting Barack Hussein Obama 10 times like the N-word at the Klan rally is Islamophobia and racism. This has to be the first time in modern history one former president consistently endangers the life of another former president. Remember, Trump leaked Obama's home address. Who does that with somebody indifferent or willing to endanger another? So
fuck Donald Trump. Yeah, fuck Donald Trump.
Okay, drop.
And so, yeah, I guess just what do you all think about now? This is, again, in the midst of all this Islamophobia we're seeing, here's Donald Trump emphasizing the Hussein in President Obama's name.
I think he's riding the wave of like his xenophobia because there is this whole conversation about the changing, aka the browning of America, the browning of the West.
Yeah.
And he is really leaning into that. And you've seen even just in the response of this past weekend where people all from, UK to here to Australia have been talking about, did we let too many immigrants in because we have now millions of people rallying around and fighting for Palestinian lives? And I think what he is doing is saying, you know what, we have lost control of this country. A black man whose middle name was Hussein is still, behind the scenes pulling the strings.
Right.
And we have to do something. I do think it's dangerous, not only for, Barack Obama, but for anyone people perceive to be Muslim.
Right.
I believe I want to say it was New York. They talked about, just yesterday, two, was Sikh men who were attacked.
Yeah.
Again, and that's different from what was happening between the India Muslim versus Sikh situation.
Correct.
These are two people who thought these Sikh men were Muslim and assaulted them. And so we're really back to this 9/11 style way of living where people do not know who is Muslim, who isn't, but they're just going out and attacking brown people. Yeah. And that is what he's leading into. Trump is violent. His base is violent. And there is no repercussions because we're even in conversations if Representative Jordan, who was one of these election deniers and supporter of January 6th, is about to be Speaker of the House. So when we're talking about like white supremacy, it really allows people to be elevated for violent, ignorant rhetoric like this.
No, you're absolutely right. And it is fascinating because you also have in Trump a audience that has engaged in violence at the behest of Donald Trump, particularly January 6th, and in other instances have been violent based upon what Donald Trump has said previously. I mean, you just had a situation where one of his followers threatened the judge in the case And of course, with Trump, you have to specify.
Yeah.
Which case?
Which charge? Which judge?
And this is the judge, the black woman, Judge Tanya Chutkin, who is over the case of the documents that he had all over his room and it was piled up in the bathroom.
I envision this as like a someone with his like messy homework strewn throughout the bedroom. Just like NSA documents, nuclear launch codes, top secret this, the cure for AIDS, the location of all the aliens, like, you know what I mean? Just like everything all over the floor.
So that judge also imposed a gag order on Donald Trump. And basically...
Pause.
Oh my God.
Gag order is so
Gag order is a pause?
Free you from this patriarchy that will not let go of your brain.
Trump's response is crazy.
So it says a federal judge. Well, let's break it down and then we'll get into, and you have to read Trump's response, which is in your Trump voice. You have to do that. A federal judge has barred Donald Trump from attacking witnesses, prosecutors, and court staff involved in his Washington, D.C. criminal case, imposing a gag order that sharply escalates the tension between Trump's 2024 bid for presidencies and the realities of his status as a criminal defendant. We didn't even remember. We got into the fact that, remember, he was trying to buy a gun. They was like, you can't do that.
How about a Blix?
Because you have 91 felonies. You have federal charges.
I want 91 Glocks. I want a gun. I want a gun. I support the Second Amendment. But I want a gun for each felony.
Let me just read that back. You know what I'm saying? Because it says, like, a federal judge, Trouble, had to bar Donald Trump from attacking witnesses, prosecutors, and court staff. Just like a staff person. You just bring in the paper to the judge, and it was one person, and Trump, like, called this person out and talked about who they was dating and all of this. Oh yeah, bro. Like, that's his MO. Like, again, like anybody else would get additional charges for doing that.
Facts.
And might even get their ability to walk around. What is it?
Revoked.
Yeah.
Revocation.
But what is that called? Where you just,
a bail revocation?
Your bail revoked for doing this type of action. So this judge put a gag order on the president. And Farouk, if you can read his response to the gag order, Trouble, that he put on Truth Social. Can you read that, please?
This is a confirmed...
Yes. This came
crazy. Listen, it's fucking
Donald
crazy.
Trump's own Truth Social piece.
I have a question.
Yes.
Oh, before we read it?
Do you have a Truth Social account?
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting that you say that, Miracle.
I'm just asking.
No, I was going to say it's interesting that you say that.
I mean, I don't.
Because the Biden campaign recently joined Truth Social yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So the Biden campaign has a Truth Social account now.
It's almost like
I don't have
same.
it. I don't have it. Oh, okay, Miracle.
Come on, Miracle.
All right. So if you can read, Farouk.
I just want to point out that there was not a denial, a full-fledged.
Yeah, there wasn't.
You know, but it's okay.
Farouk?
No, from you. She asked
no.
you
She asked me?
Yeah.
I don't got no Truth Social account.
I wasn't talking, so I was quiet.
No, Miracle. I'm not on Truth Social.
So the statement issue.
Has there been there's been a MAGA Miracle and a MAGA Muslim. I don't think we've had a MAGA Jasiri moment as of yet on the podcast, and there won't be today.
You know, they did rename it to X, so MAGA X could be
not
closer
today.
than you think.
Yes. So Donald Trump's Truth Social response.
Do you think I will be gagged? Pause. It's crazy. It's crazy. Just crazy. Crazy. Do you think I will be gagged? Your favorite president? Best one ever?
You know what's... Wait, let me stop for a second. If this is fake, how can you tell?
I don't know. But listen, it gets worse.
How can you tell?
He said, hell, no, I will not be silenced. Corrupt and evil... Biden and Judge Chutney. What is chutney? Is it marmalade? Is it jelly? We don't know. It goes on toast. It goes on meat. It confuses me. has dared to put herself.
What is wrong with you? That was an ad lib, y'all.
Oh my God, that's so funny. But you can tell.
Has dared to put herself above the First Amendment, the most important amendment. I use it every day. I love it. I thought this was America, but apparently D.C. is nothing but a banana republic, cheap clothes, knockoff, not where I shop. Where the monkeys are running the asylum now. Planet of the Apes all over again, people. But fear not. They cannot silence Trump. Nope, they've tried. 91 felonies can't keep me quiet. They will not silence Trump because we all know that we have more rights than just the First Amendment, like the Second, the right to bear arms. We can make sure they don't take them from us, Trump 2024.
So apparently this is...
I'm getting really good at this because, like, you know.
Apparently this is fake.
Oh, okay. It had to have been. But him to say Banana Republic was fucking wild.
It's like, but that's what I'm saying.
So it was fake. It is fake. It is fake. But
hilarious.
Almost indistinguishable.
Indistinguishable from something that Trump would say. Like, you could actually hear him. Oh my God. So,
that's a deep. I wonder. Who wrote that?
Whoever wrote it.
Was it AI or was it?
It might. You know what? That's a great. We might have to do that. We might have to be like, ChatGPT. How would Trump respond?
It might give you that verbatim. It might word for word.
Would give them.
But do you think I will be gagged as crazy?
Crazy.
Crazy.
No gag reflex.
So a gag order is when a judge rules you cannot talk about a case or about the people involved in the case. It is.
Remember, I had asked you how come no judge has hit Trump with that yet, or no lawyers?
Yes, you have.
And now one has.
So is it just for this specific case?
It's just for this specific case.
Okay, so do you think this is going to be like a unilateral thing? Like all the judges will probably?
I think they're going to start because he starts to ramp up his base and talk about what's happening.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but this is a question I do want to know. Like legally, if he violates that, is that obstruction of justice? Is that contempt of court? Like, what are they?
All of that. And
okay.
They can modify the conditions of his release. They can revoke his movement and put him on house arrest, or they could put him in the jail.
In the jail.
Because he's violated the rules of his ability to be released.
And do we know yet if he is to be incarcerated? Does he get Secret Service protection? No. So he forfeits that?
Does he need it? He's in jail.
That's very true.
He's in jail. He'll probably be put in protective custody.
Right.
Of course he would. You know
he'll probably have like a cell all to himself. If Secret Service has to be involved, it will probably be for like food and water to make sure it's not contaminated or poisoned.
So do they have to taste test it?
No, they can just test it regular.
Yeah. But again, I think like it will be interesting to see because Trump did speak out against it, right? He did comment about the judge's gag order and, basically say that he feels it's unconstitutional.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which is not, but you know what I'm saying? Again, he's campaigning. So he's utilizing all of this as like fuel, but it makes me fearful for the judge.
Does Trump have campaign strategists? Or does he just kind of like do it by himself?
I think that was the whole piece around like the January 6th thing was like, the lawyers that tried to come to him and say, this is how like you should do this lawyering stuff.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't want to do that. Let me find some more lawyers.
Yeah.
Now the lawyers that he found, they're like
the JV team
charged with him, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that's a part of it, right? So again, does he... Steve Bannon was there, right?
Yeah,
and again, somebody that was basically a white supremacist. So I don't know. If he does have, I don't know. Are you over there, Miracle? You over
First
there
of
giving
all.
advice? He does. And what's wild about it is I didn't realize it says at the top. Did you see that?
Yeah, miracles.
Okay.
It says miracles. What does it say?
All colors are beautiful.
Miracles, all colors are beautiful.
And once again, you heard it here. One Hood said all lives matter.
Not me. I said some are okay.
Oh my God!
Yes, not okay.
Yes, definitely. And you know what part?
The proud colorist herself, Miracle Jones Esquire, Miracle Jones Scott, Miracle Jones Scott Trump.
Of course, the terror of black women would say that, but
wow, wow,
we can't say. Come on,
I thought that was Will Smith. I thought he was the
Jesus Christ, help me out here. I'm trying
according to Jada.
No, you are not okay right now.
So, Miracle, I did want to get your.
Y'all are bullying me, and I'm gonna bully y'all back.
No, yeah, I mean, I did want to change topics real quick because we also are watching this thing unfold. It's so wild how, like, you know, there's so much in the news right now that we haven't had a chance to talk about how there's no Speaker of the House.
Which is wild.
And like the Republicans are still trying to find a Speaker. The first guy called himself David Duke without the baggage.
Yeah, man. That's just like.
He called himself that. That nobody called. He was like, hey, you know who I am? I'm David Duke.
He didn't say I'm Kim Jong-il. He said I'm.
Right. And that was like Scalise, I think was his name.
Yeah, Scalise, yeah.
From Louisiana.
Which is crazy.
Now you have Jim Jordan, who also has a history of making white supremacist and anti-Semitic comments. He also had this scandal at Ohio State where he supposedly was silent in the face of wrestlers that were being sexually abused by a coach at Ohio State. But he has Trump's cosign. He also was in the middle of the whole January 6th debacle, but they're saying he might not have the votes. So, like,
they trying to rename it from Speaker of the House to Grand Wizard of the House.
I mean, you kind of low key right. What's happening, Miracle? And is there anything that we can do? Because there was this supposedly Hakeem Jeffries was gonna maybe try some bipartisan thing. What's going on? What's going on in the House right now?
White supremacist violence and ignorance is going on because the MAGA Republicans didn't send their best and their brightest.
Did not.
And so now we as Americans are just being held hostage by this government that cannot work. And I know people hate electoral politics and electoral organizing, but this is why you have to pay attention to what's going on. And we have no Speaker of the House. The Speaker got voted out.
Yes.
Because he again, power hungry, ego driven maniacs running our Capitol, wanted to be Speaker of the House so bad, put in a clause that said one person can put in a resolution to vote me out. And so McCarthy got voted out because he thought his ego was going to save him, and it didn't. And now we're just without a speaker. Nobody can get the number 217 people.
Right.
I think that Hakeem wants to be speaker, so he's trying to get something done. But in reality, I think they need to nominate somebody else. I believe it should be like Representative Lauren Underwood. She's from Illinois. She has worked. She doesn't have the beliefs of publicly being associated with the squad, someone who's worked across the aisle. I think someone who has a temperament, who is moderate and could just like lead us out of this shambles that we are in. But our government is like falling apart.
Yeah.
Our president is falling up and down the stairs. Like it's just so much stuff happening.
A lot happening.
None of our elected officials want to talk about Palestinian people being threatened in Pennsylvania because they think it's a bad look for them. So I just have the smoke for everybody.
Come on, Miracle.
Because I'm just like exhausted by the fact that our government is failing us each and every day. We don't have drinking water. We don't have health care. We don't have food. We literally have our infrastructure falling apart. We have mold and mildew and lead everywhere. And for some reason, that is not even making our government say, you know what? We have to stop this division and actually do the job that people have sent us to do. And so it's a very sad state of affairs, but I think that we have to keep fighting and organizing and building solidarity so we can create the safety that we seek.
Absolutely. So I guess they're saying that right now, as we're recording the show, that Jordan is, I guess, brought the vote to the House floor, but that he is currently short of the votes needed. to be Speaker of the House because there were Republicans that were against him, opposed to him, enough Republicans that he can't reach that majority in the House. So it is kind of wild to watch this unfold and watch like Republicans even themselves kind of tear each other apart over a lot of wild stuff. Tommy Tuberville also fell down the steps. I don't know if that means anything.
Just the universe coming to get people.
It was funny. It was funny to me.
I think his name was Rokana, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing it. He put an amendment out saying, among things, if y'all agree to term limits and stop selling and buying stock, we will change the threshold so we can have a speaker. And people won't even do that because apparently right now people who sit on the committees that determine whether or not we're going to war are buying stocks
in military,
from companies that make military grade weapons. So there is a financial incentive for our elected officials to keep this war going. And I just want people to understand like what we are up against when we're talking about, you know, freeing Palestine and fighting and stopping other wars, because we got stuff going on in Haiti, stuff going on in Sudan, stuff going on in Ukraine.
Right.
People are becoming millionaires off of this, and this is also one of the reasons why we need these term limits. We need these conflict of interest. We need an ethics statement for people in the Capitol, and it's just mind-boggling that this is the reality that we live in.
Yeah,
like the Twilight Zone. That's what I was trying to think about earlier. I couldn't think of it, but it's like the Twilight Zone.
There was also a very fascinating clip of the Secretary of Treasury, Janet Yellen, who basically they said, hey.
In my mind, I heard Janet Yellen, but I thought Janet Reno.
No, Janet Yellen. And she's the current Secretary of the Treasury. And she was asked, like, hey, you know, the United States is spending all this money to support Ukraine. Our debt is at this one of the highest threshold. I think they we was like a AAA thing, and they moved us to AA. And he said, can America afford to be in another war? She's like, oh yeah, sure, we got this. We got what? Another war, of course. And it was just like, I kind of was like, but you know, I would like a country
to not be in war.
I would like a country for my child when he gets old. I mean, I would like something that's not like this dystopian future that is like we're hurling towards, you know what I'm saying? And I think you make a great, I mean, definitely term limits would be something that we need, right? And that we've talked about on the show. But again, it's also a thing of, again, like we just want like peace and prosperity. Like, why can't we live in that world?
Why can't we work for that? Like, why
can't we live in a white supremacist free, you know, world where everybody has the things that they want and need, and we are so far, and we're like getting further away from that
because that's just too expensive.
Like,
it's not more expensive than 2 wars. That's the whole point.
And they won't even legalize marijuana.
There's some people that will argue that.
Yeah. It's like 2 wars.
New revenues.
So, I mean, I think that's where it is kind of wild. It is pretty fascinating. Are we going right to the book?
I was going to ask a question. Is there white supremacy at the top of the mountain?
Well, you know, that's normally where the peak is, and it's covered with snow. So
that's exactly. Thank you. I threw the alley-oop up.
The white peak.
Yep.
You know, it's at the top of the mountain.
360 from the foul line, bro.
Yes.
Good job. Go on.
So, but you know, again, like here is, and this book is called Our White Pages Today.
White
it's called
Pages.
Yes, it's called To the Mountaintop: Martin Luther King's Sacred Mission to Save America.
Since you motherfuckers love to misquote him so much, there's a whole book about the shit.
Yes. From 1955 to 1968. You know, Dr. King was against the militarization of war, right? He was openly against that. He was for using that money to help poor Black, brown, and white people in America.
Yep.
When he launched the Poor People's Campaign. So this is a book written by Stuart Burns, a lovely, impassioned, and unforgettable portrait of Martin Luther King in his prime. What do you all think about the fact that supposedly Chris Rock is going to direct the Martin Luther King biography? That I guess Steven Spielberg had already had the rights to. Can we get a close-up of Miracle's face? Miracle Pinkett Smith. Can we get a
Oh.
I think it's very problematic that Steven Spielberg brought the rights to the MLK film and would not and refuses to lease them out. So if you watch Selma, you couldn't have any of the famous MLK speeches. I think that's very problematic that he's done that.
I honestly did not know that.
Yes.
Wow.
Giving the fact that Chris Rock, you can say the N-word in front of me. I
forgot about that clip. Yeah, that was crazy.
The person in charge of making MLKs. I have thoughts and concerns, but I guess we have to wait to see the finished product. But I don't.
Does Will Smith? I guess Will Smith can't play Dr. King.
He's gonna play Ali in the film.
He ain't gonna be in that film. If Chris Rock got anything to do with it, he's not gonna be a janitor sweeping up in that film.
I just wonder how much this movie's gonna slap for real.
I was trying to make a joke and you got there before me, but I was thinking, yeah,
gonna slap harder than Will Smith. What if he said that? Well, it will. It's gonna be interesting.
You know why? Can I get a drum roll?
Okay.
King turned the other cheek so did Chris Rock. I'm out of here.
Boo. Tomato. Boo. Sit down.
Oh, that's why I got to direct.
Oh, man.
If anybody knows about turning the other cheek,
it's Chris Rock, man.
In a violent confrontation,
listen.
It's Chris Rock. There's another story that MSNBC has 3 Muslim hosts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how they quietly moved all 3 of them.
Crazy.
Out of their hosting chairs during during a time where you would think okay,
you would want a Muslim voice or perspective.
You would think that they would offer a more nuanced perspective, being Muslims, being Arab. You know what I'm saying? That they would offer, particularly I guess they said the one guy, Ali Vilshi. Is that his name? How you pronounce his last name? If I'm balling it up, I apologize. I'm going to just call the brother Ali. That he had a background in covering, according to what people said, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, that you would have somebody that would give a particular perspective.
Ali Velshi?
Ali Velshi. That's the brother's name.
Yeah, he's from...
Yeah. So it would be, just, again, it's also fascinating to watch that happen where at a time where I would think I would want to hear a perspective. If we're going to say media should be everybody's voice has equal value, right? That at this time, I would want to hear what they would have to say in this moment. And they've quietly took them out, of peace. Did y'all have any comment about that?
Yeah, and the BBC as well took 6 people who speak Arabic off their show in addition to that. And it's this idea that the media is lying to you. The media is basically invested in putting out a narrative to support genocide and putting out a narrative to make sure that you feel that people are okay to be bombed, to be starved, and let out because it forces action. It forces action when you see how depraved war actually is.
Right.
And it makes you want to have things change. And the media's like, nah, you ain't gonna do that.
Because it could, one of the things that, historically changed the civil rights movement was when the media covered, when you saw black protesters being hit by hoses, when you saw Bloody Sunday, and when the media covered that, they said it kind of changed people's minds and ideas around the civil rights movement and Martin Luther King. And we saw a change in some policies. Just for the record, it said that MSNBC said that 3 hosts were removed only for logistical reasons.
Of course.
And that their religion had nothing to do with the decision.
Just because you can't say that.
Right. Well, it says the 3 continue to appear on MSNBC as reporters and analysts, but as a host, you get to kind of craft your whole show.
Yeah.
And you can bring in maybe different voices that don't normally get talked about. So it is a difference to hosting your own show, particularly the one brother is a top, his name Mehdi?
Mm-hmm.
Mehdi Hassan. because he's good at arguing. Like he's good at like, he makes his points very, very well. Somebody like me, I guess in this time where I don't check for none of these shows, I would be checking for his show to see like how he framed things, what his thing is, but ain't no checking on him because it was taken up. I didn't know that about the BBC. And it just shows you like why it's important for us to have our own media outlets, why we're thankful for like a free speech TV that hosts our show, because we can provide like, okay, this is what, you know, these black people here in Pittsburgh think about these things. And it's just a different opinion than what you're going to hear on mainstream media. You had a comment,
Trouble? I would say that this should show viewers that like you can't always trust the media outlets that you get your information from.
True.
Because in the background they're pulling moves like this.
Yes.
And you want to question like what motivates the tactics that they use, what side are they leaning on in the way that they frame the information that they're giving to you. I just want for the viewers to like question how critically you think on a day-to-day basis, and how the news outlets that you engage with don't really encourage that level of critical thinking.
Absolutely. And you know, it is deep. And again, I think that's why, you know, it's just important to have other voices. And I would encourage folks to, you know, listen to us. Obviously, we had to fact check ourselves because we, you know, read a seemingly correct, but incorrect, True Social tweet from Donald Trump. So anything? I know we have an event coming up in Pittsburgh on October 26th.
26th of October, we are bringing City Council, Harlem City Council person, Yusuf Salam of the Exonerated Five.
Yes.
A good friend of the show, good friend of ours.
Absolutely.
Wonderful brother. Might have seen him on, was that GQ? Or
no, he was on Esquire.
Esquire magazine.
Esquire, yeah.
Cover Esquire magazine. Amazing brother.
Yes.
Very excited to have him.
Me too.
Come through.
Me too.
It's always a pleasure.
Even I think the idea of like somebody that's an activist or has you know, he's been kind of in an activist space. He's been in the speaker space, deciding to take that leap to I'm going to run for office.
Right. Yeah.
And when he made that leap, the establishment of New York was against him winning, and he won anyway. Mm-hmm. So it is a thing of like, to me, I'm interested in what made him want to do that and kind of where that goes. I think that'd be a fascinating conversation. We also have the Bard of the band.
Yes, talking about media. We're having a conversation about how book bans are impacting queer people across Pennsylvania and how judicial elections can protect people. So come out Tuesday. I will be here at the Black Box. I believe it starts at 6. So we'll see y'all there.
Yes, that'll be October 24th at 6 p.m. Yusef is October 26th at 7 p.m. And then October 29th at Assemble is this month's Artivist Academy Showcase. We have an Artivist Academy where we support artists at the intersection of art and social justice. This is, what's my sister's name?
Jamila
Platt.
Platt or is it Pratt?
Platt.
With
an L.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Jamila Platt, costume movie night at Assemble. So y'all going getting dressed up?
No fancy dress for me.
Go. So, you know.
What you going as, Trouble?
Myself.
You going as yourself?
Yeah.
You're just going to come with your Emmy. As you see, we got the Emmy on the table.
Yeah,
so you know characters enough.
Yes.
But she picked a symbol because of what happened to Mr. Bill in East Liberty and wanted us to give people a moment to dress up, to have fun, and to support, have a familial support with her kids, just to relax and just not have that area just have so much pain and trauma. So this is offering for the community. So come out. Bring your kids, costumes. There'll be some food and snacks for the kids as they watch some movies. And they get to pick what movie they want to see. So a little democracy in action.
A little democracy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it might as well be in action here. It's not in action in Washington, D.C. right now. Well, I guess we'll see what's going on with this debate. So any final comments?
Please just reach out to others, support each other. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of heaviness in the world, so just lean on each other and have conversations.
Yes,
and just don't be afraid to ask hard questions.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Trouble.
Never lose sight.
Farouk. All right. So with that being said, we will see y'all next week on another episode of This Week in White Supremacy. Peace, y'all. One hood.